Are you suffering from a bulging disc and you're wondering how long it's going to take you to get better? If you are, then this video has all the answers you need. Hi everybody, my name is Will Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties Specialist Physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today I'm going to be revealing the likely disc bulge recovery time that someone with a bulging disc or a herniated disc will have. Now, before we dive into the content of the video, if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, because then you'll be the first to hear about our new videos when they come out. You can do that using the button on the right of the screen here. Now that that's been said, let's talk about bulging and herniated discs, what they are and how long the recovery period tends to be. So the discs, when we talk about the spinal discs, are structures that sit inside the spine. So this is the human spine here. We've got 24 vertebrae, which are these bones that go all the way up the spine and they make up the spinal column. And then in between the vertebrae, we've got these things here, which are the discs. And the discs are basically tough outer shells of a fiber called collagen, and they have a fluid center. So you can almost think of them like a jam donut. And the discs are flexible. They allow us to bend and twist and move the spine, and they provide nutrition to the vertebral bones. They basically help you have a healthy, flexible spine. Now, the discs are very good at what they do because they're flexible, but because of this flexibility, unfortunately, we do sacrifice a little bit of what we call structural integrity. So disc injuries are quite common. And a disc injury occurs when the outer layers of the disc, called the annulus, start to weaken and the fluid center of the disc, called the nucleus, starts to push outwards and cause what we call a bulge or a herniation. So if this is the bottom segment of your spine, you've got the L4 or the L5 vertebra here and the L4 vertebra here. So we call this the L4-5 disc. You can see it's quite flexible. But if we end up with a weakness at the back of the disc, we can end up with what we call a bulge, which happens in certain positions. And if you look at this here, the bulge is touching on that yellow thing there, which is the nerve. And that nerve, when pressed on, can cause sciatica. So bulges and herniated discs can cause quite significant pain. They can cause pain in the back and they can cause pain that runs right down the leg as well. They can also cause other symptoms too, and we have other videos on the channel which go into more detail on that. Let's talk about the recovery time from these conditions, because they can start very suddenly, but then they can take a long time to get better. Now, if you type in disc bulge recovery time on Google, the first thing that pops up that I found was an article, I think it's from the NHS, that says that the average disc bulge recovery time is about 6 to 12 weeks. And I'm afraid to say that in my experience, that timescale is way off. Now, quite simply, some people who say, oh, I've had a herniated disc and had pain in my leg for a few days, then it went away, they probably never had a bulging or a herniated disc, because if you have a true herniated disc, it can take a lot longer than 12 weeks to fully get better. So the first thing I would tell you is try and ignore what you read online. A lot of these websites that tell you it's going to get better in 6 weeks or 12 weeks are not always on the money. Yes, that does happen for some people, but for most people it takes longer. Now, the second thing we need to talk about is the fact that your bulging disc recovery time and your bulging disc healing time are very, very different. Okay, and this might sound a little bit confusing, but let me explain. So when we talk about recovery time, what we're talking about is how long it takes for the pain to go away and for you to regain your function and your movement. And when we're talking about healing time, what we're talking about is quite simply how long it takes for the disc to actually knit back together and heal again. Now, you might think, well, surely those are the same things. When the disc heals, the recovery happens. And that's not actually always true. I've met many people in my career who have a bulging disc, which has been seen on MRI. We do rehab with them, they get better, they have another MRI scan even when they feel better, and the scans look the same. The bulging disc is still there, but the symptoms have gone away. Now, this is very confusing. It sounds confusing because it is. We don't fully understand how that happens. We just know that is a possibility with bulging and herniated discs. And it's probably for the same reason that lots of people have bulging or even herniated discs and don't have any symptoms at all. Obviously, the main thing we're concerned about is the recovery, okay? We're not overly concerned about what those bulges or herniations look like as long as the person is feeling better. So what I would encourage people to do is spend less time worrying about how long it takes for the discs to knit back together and more time worrying about how much pain they're in and how mobile they are and how much they can move, how strong their legs are, and how much they can take part in the activities that they love doing. So that's the important thing. So let's talk some solid numbers for bulging disc recovery time. The first thing I'll say is that most people still have some pain after about 12 weeks. So they're still suffering with the problem. Some people are better, but those people are quite lucky. Most people still have pain after 12 weeks. I would say the average length of time it takes for someone to recover from this condition is about 6 months in our experience. Now, if the person seeks treatment as quickly as possible, we can usually cut that time down significantly. And I have a personal target of getting people better within 3 months of starting treatment. Now, we start this timer when that person comes in. So it's not uncommon for us to have someone who's had sciatica or a bulging disc for 2 years. They come in and within 3 months, the symptoms are much better. Now, it's not because we're magic. It's just because we told them what they need to do to speed up that bulging disc recovery time, and the body has decided to listen and start to knit that thing back together and heal the problem back up. So 3 months of treatment is a good guideline for you. Now, not everyone is going to be getting fully better within 3 months, but if you're moving in the right direction, that's a good sign. Now, if you don't get any treatment, if you just leave it alone, like I said, the average is probably about 6 months for it to go away. But the drawback of this approach is A, you won't know if you're actually going to get better. You'll just be watching and hoping. And the second thing is if you don't rehabilitate it properly, it has a high chance of coming back later. This is often what we see in people who just do the watch and hope approach. They wait for it to go away and then next year it happens again and they end up in a horrible cycle. So it's much better to get the problem fixed properly with the right rehab. And for most people, the recovery process from the start of treatment to the end takes about 3 months. Now, the thing is, most people don't seek treatment straight away. So the average is we see people after about 3 months of suffering. So the overall bulging disc recovery time for most of the people we see is about 6 months. Now, if you're still suffering from 3 months on, it might be a case you're not quite doing the right things, or if you're still suffering for over 6 months and you've had treatment, it might be that that treatment just didn't agree with you. In those circumstances, it's worthwhile speaking to a different practitioner to try a different approach. Now, if you've still suffered for a year, you've tried physio, you've tried osteopathy, you've tried chiropractors, and nothing is helping, and you still have the same pain, it's not improving, and no matter what you do, it's still affecting your quality of life, you might benefit from having some advice from a spinal surgeon who can have a look at it and say, this is why it's not improving, and whether or not they'll be able to help it. Now, we always tell people that surgery for a bulging or a herniated disc should be the very last resort. So make sure you try other approaches first before opting to explore the surgical route. And we would typically only recommend surgery for people who've either got quite a severe case of it, where they have problems with their bladder and bowel function, or they've got other signs of cauda equina, or they're in terrible pain, or people who have suffered for over a year and it's not improving. Those are really the only circumstances where surgery is a good idea. So definitely try and fix it with what we call conservative measures. Definitely be patient. It can take longer than the advertised 3 months that you'll read about online for a disc to feel like it's recovering. And don't worry too much about the appearance of a scan, because the disc healing time is different from the recovery time. Anyway, I hope that video has made sense. That's just a bit of information about disc bulge recovery times for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave me a comment below. And if you like the content from me, please feel free to pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50, and it has loads more advice and information like that within this video, which you can pick up on Amazon using the link below. Anyway, I hope that's made sense. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next video.